Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some significant news. King Charles in shock after Queen Camilla reportedly found annihilating Princess Diana's last correspondence. The British monarchy is embroiled in a political and personal crisis due to alarming accusations that Queen Camilla was found obliterating private last correspondence sent by the late Diana, Princess of Wales. The incident, reportedly taking place within the private confines of Clarence House, has generated significant upheaval within the royal family, jeopardizing the revival of one of the most distressing and contentious episodes in its contemporary history and placing King Charles III in a precarious position between his consort and the enduring legacy of his first wife. The allegations, first revealed by palace insiders and subsequently sparking a worldwide media frenzy, depict a condemnatory image of an act enveloped in secrecy and historical enmity. A credible source claims that the Queen was seen in a seldom-used private study, kneeling before a blazing fireplace and incinerating handwritten papers. A subordinate member of the domestic staff apparently saw the crime and, in a state of extreme shock, identified the unmistakable, exquisite calligraphy of Princess Diana on a page just before it was engulfed by flames. This solitary act of destruction is seen by critics and royal watchers as a symbolic endeavor to eradicate the last unrefined reflections of a lady who continues to be an emblem of popular adoration over 30 years after her untimely death. The immediate and profound repercussions have put the monarchy in a condition of suspended animation. Buckingham Palace and Clarence House have preserved a strict quiet, refusing to provide any official remark. This official silence has intensified suspicion, enabling the media, the public, and an aggrieved Spencer family to fill the void with inquiries about purpose involvement and a possible cover-up at the top echelons of the organization. Was this a desperate, clandestine act by a 78-year-old lady still tormented by the specter of her adversary? Was it a deliberate political strategy authorized or even orchestrated by higher authorities to cleanse the historical narrative and shield the crown from potentially detrimental disclosures? As the institution confronts the issue, the unresolved inquiries jeopardize the meticulously crafted facade of stability that King Charles III has endeavored to establish, reiterating that in the narrative of the House of Windsor, the past remains perpetually relevant. The situation at Clarence House. A detailed examination of the fire. Detailed sources from inside the royal household indicate that the events up to the present situation transpired on a quiet, tranquil evening at Clarence House, the official London home of the King and Queen. The usually tranquil environment was allegedly disrupted by an unexpected and pungent odor originating from the West Wing. The source was first recognized by a junior staffer just assigned from the Sandringham estate, who was responsible for delivering late-night briefing materials. An anonymous source said that the assistant was lured into a secret study, a space usually designated for the king's personal reading. The door was slightly open, and through the opening the staff member saw a scenario that was both very intimate and terribly disturbing. Queen Camilla, attired in a sumptuous velvet robe, was seated beside the magnificent marble fireplace. Her stance was characterized as strained, with her hands reportedly quivering as she systematically tore pages off what seemed to be antiquated high-quality stationery and fed them into a raging fire. For a fleeting pivotal moment, a solitary piece of paper ensnared in an updraft drifted towards the brink of the fire aglow with the flames. The attendant could clearly identify the looping script signature of Princess Diana. The fading ink, a faint violet shade favored by the princess, rendered words that were hard to see from afar, save for one, the name William, written with a characteristic flourish. The assistant instantly recognized the seriousness of the issue according to the source. The objects being torched were not official state documents or ordinary domestic papers. They were artifacts of considerable historical and personal importance, the last private vestiges of Princess Diana's intimate life. The ensuing confrontation was succinct and fraught with emotion. Upon hearing a subtle noise, Queen Camilla allegedly turned her eyes widening in what a witness characterized as a moment of sheer panic and rage. "This is not what you envision," she purportedly said. Her voice strained. Her hands, subtly coated with ash, were up in a semi-defensive posture. The chamber was permeated by the odor of burning paper and a subtle chemical aroma which some have conjectured may be the fragrance of ancient ink, and the silk ribbons Diana was renowned for using to bind her letters. The repercussions were immediate and disturbingly effective. Within 48 hours, the junior staffer who saw the incident was discreetly and suddenly transferred to a distant administrative post at the Balmoral estate in Scotland, with responsibilities completely unconnected to their employment at the London mansion. The move occurred without public announcement or internal clarification. Rumors within the royal staff indicate that the aide's personal mobile device was briefly seized for what was formally described as a routine information security audit. Although official channels were uncommunicative, other factions within the royal family started to validate the time frame. A long-serving gardener at Clarence House subsequently disclosed to a colleague about the peculiar chemical smoke that evening, observing it was incongruent with the aroma of burning wood. This fact, however modest, provided essential credibility to the witness's testimony. The inquiry reverberating through the royal halls in the immediate aftermath was not just whether the event happened, but rather why Queen Camilla would engage in such a hazardous endeavor personally. The inherent character of the conduct indicated it was too delicate to be outsourced, suggesting a purpose stemming from either profound personal insecurity or a directive from the utmost authority. A Chronicle of Three. The incurable scar of a regal union. Comprehending the significance of obliterating Diana's letters necessitates revisiting the fundamental tragedy of the contemporary monarchy, the doomed union of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer, with the ever-present influence of Camilla Parker Bowles. The 1981 nuptials in St. Paul's Cathedral, featuring a 20-year-old Diana alighting from a glass carriage, were heralded as the commencement of a new romantic epoch for the House of Windsor. She epitomized the English rose, a demure and exquisite wife for the future monarch. However, as Diana would later publicly disclose, despite the resplendent tiaras and balcony gestures, the marriage was suffocating. Charles had never abandoned his profound, enduring affection for his previous lover, Camilla, a woman who comprehended his realm in a manner the young princess never could. Their friendship, a robust connection that was before and lasted after his marriage to Diana, became the focal anguish of the princess's existence. Diana's life as royalty, first a luxurious enclosure, transformed into an emotional confinement. She waged a solitary covert struggle, not just for her husband's love, but also for her own identity, inside an institution she saw as unfeeling, methodical, and unsympathetic. The 1992 book Diana, Her True Story, with clandestine collaboration from author Andrew Morton, dismantled the fairy tale narrative revealing her battles with bulimia, despair, and deep solitude. The confrontation reached its apex during her pivotal 1995 BBC Panorama interview, a broadcast admission that reverberated across the establishment. When questioned regarding Camilla's influence on the dissolution of her marriage, Diana succinctly remarked, "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." This statement characterized an epic solidifying Camilla's public persona as the other woman, and Diana's as the aggrieved queen of people's hearts. Despite Diana's demise in 1997, her influence remained significant. For years, Camilla was a very divisive figure, her public persona gradually and carefully restored by a palace public relations apparatus to facilitate popular acceptance and, ultimately, her elevation to queen. Her 2005 nuptials to Charles were a subdued civil ceremony, starkly contrasting with the extravagance of 1981. Throughout the years, she has received acclaim for her stoicism, her allegiance to the king, and her commitment to her responsibilities. However, for a considerable segment of the British populace and Diana's global fans, she has never quite evaded the shadow of her predecessor. The purported incineration of the letters resonates profoundly against this intricate and emotionally fraught context. For Camilla, the papers could have symbolized the last unrestrained voice of her adversary, a voice from beyond the grave, capable of altering the story of her life and reign for years to follow. Secrets in the embers. What might the letters have encompassed? Speculation on the information considered so explosive that it necessitated incineration is now widespread. Individuals intimately acquainted with Princess Diana during her concluding years assert that her letters transcended simple emotional expressions. They were her testament. Amid the tumultuous phase of her separation and divorce, Diana increasingly resorted to letter writing as a private method to chronicle her emotions of betrayal, apprehensions over her personal safety, and her resolute commitment to safeguarding her boys, Princes William and Harry. Sources affiliated with the Spencer family have always said that Diana preserved a detailed handwritten account of her experiences. Excerpts of these letters exchanged privately with acquaintances over the years depict a picture of significant distress. In a letter allegedly dated from late 1992, coinciding with her formal separation from Charles, she stated, "They seek to categorize me as paranoid, yet how can one avoid such a sentiment when their laughter reverberates outside my door? At night, I am uncertain about whom to trust in this palace of whispers. It is a frigidness that numbs more profoundly than any winter." The little excerpt communicates a profound sensation of psychological encirclement. She expressed her apprehensions over marginalization, the limitation of her contact to her children, and a coordinated effort to depict her as mentally unwell to undermine her credibility. Her writings about Camilla were allegedly characterized not by hatred, but by profound, embittered sadness. An undated letter from the early 1990s reportedly expressed the relationship with striking clarity. She knew everything. She was aware of Charles's assurance to me that there would be no more communication. Nevertheless, the calls persisted, and the letters came as if I were the interloper in my own existence, my own matrimony. In their realm, I was the tertiary person, not she. These remarks indicate that Diana was not a naive victim, but rather a discerning observer of her own decline, who opted for quiet for years, mainly to protect her young boys from the damaging reality. Other letters purportedly had more explicit conflicts, especially over Camilla's impact on the lives of William and Harry. Diana, fiercely protective of her maternal position, was said to be profoundly troubled by Camilla's growing participation at events concerning her children. "I will not permit her to attend my son's school functions, smiling as though she is some form of substitute," she said in another letter. "She is not their progenitor. She will never be." This sentiment transcended ordinary envy. It was the instinctual response of a mother seeing her domain as threatened by the woman who had disrupted her family. The most provocative conjecture, however, is on a letter purportedly composed in the weeks before her death in August 1997. The conviction that Diana has a premonition of her own death has persistently stimulated conspiracy theories about the Paris automobile accident. The renowned Mishcon note, a record of a 1995 meeting with her attorney Lord Mishcon, has previously chronicled her apprehension over a conspiracy to assassinate her in a vehicular accident. A concluding handwritten letter reflecting these feelings would be a historical revelation. A commonly repeated rumored statement is, "If anything were to happen to me, let it be known that I anticipated it." I am gradually being erased, yet I document these lines not for compassion but for posterity, in order for my sons to comprehend the true essence of their mother one day. The obliteration of such a paragraph, if it really existed, would be an act of historical vandalism. This would be Diana's ultimate testimony proof, capable of irreparably damaging the reputations of both King Charles and Queen Camilla. Their love story would be recast not as a destined romance, but as a merciless endeavor that left a woman shattered and fearful for her life. The fire in the Clarence house grate was purportedly consuming evidence, not only paper. The Spencers and the princes of family responds to the division. The charges have torn through the royal family, reviving past grievances and causing fresh rifts that may be irreparable. The Spencer family's answer was prompt and unambiguous. Earl Spencer, the younger brother of Diana, who notably gave a poignant eulogy at her 1997 burial that indirectly criticized the royal family, has once again assumed the position as his sister's advocate. In a statement released from his Althorp residence, he voiced a vehement denunciation of the purported deed. "The intentional destruction of my sister's personal belongings constitutes a significant betrayal of her memory," the statement said. "These letters are not mere curiosities. They constitute an integral part of our family's legacy and our nation's heritage. To endeavor to eliminate them is to try to rewrite history and suppress a voice that continues to motivate millions. We want a comprehensive and open inquiry into these very troubling allegations. Only the truth will suffice for my sister's legacy." The Spencer family is reportedly hastily documenting all of Diana's belongings remaining in their possession, apprehensive that this may not be an isolated occurrence. The relationship between the Spencers and the crown, always tenuous, seems to have been irrevocably destroyed. The stated effect on Diana's boys is even more catastrophic. Sources affiliated with both the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Sussex assert that neither was aware of the letters' existence or their obliteration. They reportedly discovered the occurrence via press reporting a finding characterized as a profoundly personal and devastating setback. As the heir apparent, Prince William occupies an exceedingly challenging position. Renowned for his reticence and conscientious demeanor, he has maintained a public silence. However, individuals close to him privately characterize him as coldly furious. He is conflicted between his obligation to the institution and his father, alongside his steadfast dedication to his mother's memory. His quiet reflects profound, suppressed agony and despair rather than acceptance. For William, this is not a political error by the Queen. It is a personal affront to his mother by his stepmother. Prince Harry, currently residing in California and free from royal constraints, is allegedly devastated and incandescent with rage. A source affiliated with the Sussexes informed U.S. media that Harry perceives the act as the ultimate betrayal and a validation of his enduring conviction that the institution has been systematically attempting to obliterate his mother's authentic legacy. The event is seen by him and Meghan as a validation of their choice to depart from the royal family, which they saw as a poisonous milieu unable to address its own realities. The conflict has reportedly halted contact between King Charles and his sons entirely. Insiders indicate that the king's efforts to contact Prince Harry have received no response. The bond between the father and his younger son, already significantly weakened, is now in danger of complete disintegration. The incineration of the letters has become a symbol of the family's unresolved pain, which Charles seemingly chooses to destroy rather than address. The king's silence. A leadership crisis. At the storm's epicenter, King Charles III is ensnared in a profound quiet. His inability to confront the claims, or to let his administration do so, is being widely seen as a monumental failure of leadership. For a monarchy reliant on public faith and moral authority, remaining silent in response to such a serious accusation equates to an acknowledgement of guilt, or at the very least a startling relinquishment of duty. Royal pundits are polarized over his intentions. Is he safeguarding the lady for whom he jeopardized the throne, his queen? Consequently, his commitment can jeopardize his connection with his kids and his public reputation. Does his silence imply an implicit acknowledgement of complicity? Was he aware of the letters? The most radical versions propose that he personally commanded their annihilation to protect his rule from the specters of his history. The king's silence is rapidly becoming the hallmark of the crisis regardless of the cause. It conveys the idea of a sovereign unable or disinclined to govern his own domain and face the specters of his history. For a country that has mostly embraced him, the event serves as a poignant reminder of the scandal-plagued Prince of Wales he once embodied. He is no longer only the king, he is Charles, once more the individual at the nexus compelled to navigate the conflicting legacies of the two most significant women in his life. The decision he makes or neglects to make could ultimately define his rule. The Swiss vault and the absent archivist, the quest for an additional copy. Amid the ongoing turmoil, a secondary, more covert storyline has started to surface the quest for duplicate copies of Diana's correspondence. Numerous former confidants of the princess have said that in her latter years, consumed by paranoia over attempts to discredit her, she grew more diligent in safeguarding her narrative. It is said that she created duplicates of her most confidential letters and had them clandestinely transported to safe, secret places. Edith Travers, the former senior royal archivist of Kensington Palace, has resurfaced from the annals of history. A lady of impeccable discretion, Travers discreetly oversaw the monarchy's secrets for nearly 30 years, meticulously collecting the personal archives of many royals, including Princess Diana. Merely weeks before Diana's death, Travers unexpectedly resigned from her position, attributing her departure only to personal reasons. She disappeared from the public sphere, although not before imparting a solitary, enigmatic statement to a writer who succeeded in contacting her. "The princess's truth is a fragile thing. If left to be extinguished, the shadow will encompass the whole institution." Royal specialists now contend that Travers was not only an archivist, she served as Diana's main safeguard. A source claims that Travers directly aided Diana in illicitly exporting copies of her most crucial letters from the United Kingdom. At least one item labeled Top Secret was allegedly sent to a secure vault in Geneva, Switzerland, a city famous for its private banking and impenetrable confidentiality. This trove purportedly includes letters outlining Diana's apprehensions over a contrived tragedy, as well as her insights on the connection between Camilla and a clandestine group of influential individuals she suspected were orchestrating the royal family's public persona. If this stash exists, it is a paramount discovery for historians and a precarious threat to the monarchy. The investigation into Edith Travers has stagnated. She is said to reside in a secluded, unreachable region of northern Scotland, eschewing any communication. However, a last clue is said to be included in a letter Diana sent on the eve of her ill-fated journey to Paris. In the correspondence, she reportedly informed a friend that the journey could alter everything and that she was ready to confront the truth regardless of the repercussions. The message allegedly ended with a foreboding italicized postscript: "In the event of any occurrence, locate Edith. She has comprehensive knowledge." These 6 words have converted the tale from a palace scandal into an international enigma. The presence of these copies implies that the fire at Clarence House did not result in complete annihilation, but rather obliterated just a portion of the record. The disclosure of a solitary letter from a Swiss vault might undermine the meticulously crafted legacy of Queen Camilla and challenge the moral underpinnings of King Charles's rule. Conclusion: the insatiable blaze. The accusation that Queen Camilla incinerated Princess Diana's correspondence has plunged the British monarchy into its most significant identity crisis since the death of the princess herself. The authenticity of the deed, whether factual or speculative, has elicited profound public sentiment, evoking Diana's lasting legacy of compassion, fragility, and the bravery to confront authority with honesty. The palace's reticence has provoked widespread outrage and skepticism. A new generation is getting acquainted with the people's princess throughout the United Kingdom and beyond, while those who remember her are advocating for justice in her honor. Hashtags such as Justice for Diana and Her Letters, Not Ashes have emerged as worldwide rallying cries, serving as a digital witness to a populace that resists the alteration of history by those in authority. The purported fire at Clarence House may have ironically had the opposite outcome to what was planned. In their effort to obliterate her dying remarks, her adversaries may have unintentionally amplified her voice more than ever before. The fire did not extinguish her memory. Rather, it has highlighted it, putting a stark, unrelenting light on the unsolved disputes and unhealed traumas at the core of the House of Windsor. Attention is now directed on Princes William and Harry. Can the future monarch uphold his mother's legacy inside the institution that often betrayed her? Will the estranged son emerge as the only advocate of her truth? The narrative involving Diana Charles and Camilla remains unresolved. From the remnants of incinerated correspondence, the illumination of truth may still shine most brilliantly, perhaps guiding or engulfing the destiny of the British monarchy. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.